In the 2011-2012 season, Marcus Lattimore was one of the most promising players in the NCAA. He set the rushing touchdown record for his school of South Carolina and had a fabulous season that made him a first-round draft pick. The next year, Marcus sadly suffered an ACL tear in his left and right knee. This prevented him from even being drafted, and it turned out that he never got to play a snap in the NFL. This is a perfect example of why college athletes need to be paid for what they do. I will be talking about the risk of injury they take every time they play their sport, the huge amount of money they generate for their schools, and how some people try and say that it takes away from school tradition and spirit by paying athletes, but in reality, it is not the case. For starters, athletes face a huge risk of injury. Every time they step on the field, whether they are playing a contact sport or a non-contact sport, accidents can happen that cause an athlete to sustain an injury. A concussion is a perfect example of this. Concussions are a terrible injury to sustain and can have lifetime effects on someone's mental health. You hear many stories about football players that suffer from CTE whose mental health has never recovered from all the concussions that they sustained during their football career. Something like this can not only affect college players going to the next level, but can also affect them getting a job in the real world if they do not make it to the next level. This is a perfect reason as to why college players need to be paid, because they may be injured during their career at college and deserve compensation for the work that they do. A lot of players rely on going to the next level to provide for themselves as well as their family, but injury can keep them from going where they need to be. In addition, college players make huge amount of money for schools. In 2019, Forbes reported Alabama sold $54 million in ticket sales for their football that year. Schools make huge amounts of money on players' names because people want to come and see the best players in the world play each other and represent their school. These players have to do huge amounts of extra work. They have to balance going to games, practices, weightlifting, as well as the workload of a normal student. Every year they make the university huge amounts of money on the sales of their jerseys, ticket sales, and the food and merchandise that is sold at the games. Yet the players themselves, who are doing all the work, get to see none of the money that the school is generating. This makes no sense when the players are the ones who are taking the risk for their school and are making them so much money. Tim Tebow said, "If I could support my team, college, that is what it's all about." People like to argue that paying players makes it less about the university and more about money, when in reality, this is not the case because of the risk players take and the amount of money that they generate for their schools. In conclusion, college athletes should for sure be paid. This is because every time they step on the field, they are taking a risk of injury that could prevent them from living a normal life or being able to go to the next level. They also make huge amounts of money for their school and should be compensated for the work they do.